Bienvenue tout le monde. Welcome everybody to the regular Municipal Council meeting for the City of Westmount from Monday, September 18th, 2023. Bienvenue aux séances ordinaires du Conseil municipal de la Ville de Westmount pour lundi le 18 septembre 2023. We will begin with, I think there's a few council reports before we go into the first question period. So I will start at this end of the table. I think Councillor Roux has some updates from some of the events and community events that are coming our way.
There's quite a few actually going on. Many things going on right now. I will only give a sample of them, so please go to the website. So one of them is the trio Enzo De Rosa, which will take you on a musical journey through classical cinema accompanied by projection of memorable clips. So that's at Victoria Hall on Wednesday, September the 20th. On Thursday, the 21st, should be a very interesting conference. It's a lecture, which is organized by the Westmount Historical Association in collaboration with the Westmount Public Library. So it's Westmount Public Library's architectural evolution from 1899 to today. So before the 125th starts, this will be very interesting. So it's with Julia Gershowitz and Roseanne Moss, founding partners of Evoke, so they're both architects, and Peter Trump, the former mayor of Westmount. So Westmount Public Library has undergone many changes since Robert Findley's design the first building in 1899. So this lecture will follow the architectural evolution of the library over the past 124 years. So that's at 7 in the Westmount room on Thursday the 21st at 7 p.m. The film club on Tuesday, September 26th at 2 p.m. The Phantom of the Open on Saturday, the 30th of September in Victoria Hall, in the gallery at Victoria Hall at 2 p.m. Vous pouvez venir voir en partenariat avec les Journées de la Culture. Profitez d'une performance musicale gratuite qui vous plongera dans l'exposition mettant en vedette les artistes de Westmount, Nathalie Guez et Irma Alvarez. And then on October 4th, there's a workshop for parents' dyslexia awareness with Véronique Poulet, former executive director of the Westmount Fluency Center and a mother of a dyslexic child, and Catherine Bavaro, speech-language pathologist at the Montreal Fluency Center. I think that's the main ones. Anyways.
Tonight there's a big event at Victoria Hall.
But I'm hoping people are staying with us. I didn't want to encourage them.
Which may actually be sold out.
For the chef and author of a cookbook.
Okay, and then this Saturday as well, we are hosting, since the pandemic, it's the first one we're hosting a citizenship ceremony at Victoria Hall on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. And that is jointly hosted by our federal MP, our local MNA, and myself with Immigration Canada. So we'll be welcoming many new Canadians as they take their oath of citizenship at Victoria Hall on Saturday morning. Councillor Peart is going to give us an update on all the different infrastructure projects that are going on or completing or about to be completed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And there's a bit of a long list. This is a bit of an update on all the capital works projects that are going on, some simultaneously across the city. I'll start with the simpler ones, the ones which are all complete, which are the water rehabilitation projects. Now, when we're talking about water rehabilitation, we are talking about the relining of the existing sewer network that we have, or the water main system that are subterranean. And so that means that there is less digging that happens. There's really just some punctual holes that are done in place, and then the team comes in and relines from the outside in. So there are 4 projects that were underway over the course of the year. There's Wood between St. Catherine and de Maisonneuve. There's Edge Hill, that's from Lexington to the Boulevard. There's Victoria, that's between Westmount and Côte Saint-Antoine, and de Casson, all of which are complete. That's it for the water rehabilitation projects. Next on to the largest projects that we have going on right now, and those are the ones on Grosvenor and on Mount Pleasant. Now, the one on Grosvenor, of course, is between Westmount all the way up to the Boulevard. That project, the underground water and electrical works are complete. The sidewalks are complete. The stone base was finished last week. The pour of the concrete road base is underway. And after 7 days of curing, they are going to start paving the street during the week of October 9th. Mount Pleasant, the other large project underway in the city, is the underground water and electrical works are complete. The granite curbs are complete. The sidewalks are to be completed after the pouring of the concrete road base. The bioretention basin will be completed at the same time as the sidewalks. The pour for the concrete base was started last week. 2 of the 3 concrete pours have been completed, with the last one scheduled for this week. And after 7 days of curing, the paving of the street will start during the week of October 2nd. So those are the 2 large projects that are underway in the city. Now, new this year, something we haven't been doing it's a new strategy that we've adopted recently, and that is because of the, historically all of our infrastructure works have been largely driven by what's underground. That sometimes results in there's a lag in terms of the quality of the surface, which may be in some cases in dire condition, but the underground infrastructure is in decent condition. So if we were to wait for the underground infrastructure to catch up or to deteriorate to the level of this surface, then it'll be a long time for the surface to just remain in its deplorable state. So we've undertaken some blocks across the city where we know that the infrastructure wasn't going to be attacked in the next 10 years or so.
The underground infrastructure.
Sorry, the underground infrastructure wasn't going to be attacked or projected in the next 10 years or so, but we could not wait that long for the surface. So currently underway, we have the block on Claremont between de Maisonneuve and Sherbrooke, which many of you have probably seen. It's completely closed off, and the sidewalks, a good portion of the sidewalks have been repaired. The asphalt was removed last week, and the concrete base is being repaired. Maybe I should take this opportunity too to maybe explain a little bit of the difference in the type of works that we do. When we're talking about a reconstruction of a road, we're not just taking out the asphalt topping. We are completely deconstructing the concrete base and the substrate beneath the concrete base, and that's what's happened on Grosvenor and on Mount Pleasant. There's another type of work, which is just a resurfacing, where you come in, you scrape off the top of the asphalt, and you lay a new layer of asphalt. That's what most of you have seen on the Sherbrooke, on the NDG side, which happened to carry to our western city border. They came in, they did a quick scrape and a resurfacing, but I don't know, many of you might not have noticed, but they didn't really do any repair of the underlying concrete. There's pluses and minuses to the strategy. Obviously, it means that the plus is it's quick. You saw that it was done in a few days. It came in and they repaved in probably just a little bit more than a week's time.
Doesn't last.
But the risk, of course, is that if they don't do a repair to the concrete base, then the problems that are in the base will eventually telegraph and propagate up into the asphalt, leaving you with a suboptimal condition on the asphalt. So we're doing things a little bit different. We're going the extra step where when we take out the concrete topping, we actually look at the base and we do a whole bunch of repairs to the base, which is going to take longer, but it means that these repairs are not just going to last a few years, they're going to last for a much longer period of time. So that's what's happening on Claremont. You'll see that there's a lot of the concrete base that has been jackhammered up and will be refilled and repaired to give you a good substrate before we put on the asphalt topping. Similarly, on Barat and Vignal, the asphalt will be removed in the next week. Punctual base repairs, as I've just discussed, and the paving will start during the week of October 2nd. On Upper Bellevue, similar, the sidewalks have started, should be completed by September 20th. Asphalt will be removed on the 21st. Punctual base repairs during the week of the 25th to October 2nd, and the paving starting on October 9th. Again, similar project on Summit Road, sidewalks, punctual repairs there. Asphalt will be removed next week. Punctual base repairs will follow after that, and paving will start during the week of October 9th. So in a few short weeks, you should see some significant resurfacing works and on 4 blocks that were in a state of disrepair, and know that we didn't just come in and do a little bit of a quick fix. We did a little bit better than a quick fix. We went under and did some repairs on subsurface repairs, which should make these streets last longer. So that's the quick summary, not so quick summary rather, but.
And there's sidewalk repairs happening all over. That's part of the sidewalk
So
cuts project
thank you, Mayor
that was part of the Capital Works
You'll
program early on.
In addition to all of these, across the city has been ongoing. I think it continues still. That there are punctual sidewalk repairs happening all across the city.
One in particular on Sherbrooke having a large impact on circulation on that street.
Indeed.
So, Councillor Gallery.
Thank you,
Councillor
Madam
Keard,
Mayor.
for that update.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I just have a quick update to let you know that our fall activities will be starting this week and next week. There's a few spots left, so feel free to check out our website and look at our youth and adult programming, and there's lots of great stuff. And I wish you all a great season, a good fall. And just a quick update on Devon Park. If you've been up to District 1, you'll see it's almost complete. There's a few final steps, and we're hoping to open in early October. Please check our website, but we'll certainly be announcing the date and more details as we get closer. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick announcement tonight. A reminder that Saturday, the 30th of September, from 9 to 5 at the library, we will be doing our hazardous waste collection. So if you have old electronics, batteries, paint or paint thinner, or any other hazardous chemical that's being stored, waiting for an opportunity to make sure it gets to the right place and is properly dealt with, September 30th from 9 to 5 is the time. Please do not come before 9 or after 5. We cannot accept any materials outside of those hours. And if you're not sure if it's hazardous or not, check the website. There's a list there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Kez.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. I just want to reiterate, after the last council meeting, we had an opportunity to do the sports and rec banquet as well, which was probably the highest turnout we've ever seen in the city in terms of kids and families that were there that are participating in our programs. So I just want to thank that department, the sports and rec team that really work hard to get those programs off the ground all summer. We are busy in the planning phases of the budget for 2024 and the Capital Works programs. So you will start seeing some public consultations that are happening on some major projects ahead. And we have a new item of business tonight, which will be very instrumental in those major projects in the city. So I think we should begin with the first question period. I know we have one question online, but we'll begin with any questions in the room, and then we'll move to the online questions. So if you have a question, come on up to the microphone and state your name and address and your question.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is John Fretz. I'm at 473 Lansdowne. Madam Mayor, you recall last fall and again in spring, we talked about projects or interventions to be undertaken at Summit Woods. Mm-hmm. So what's on for this fall up there?
I think you've probably seen the Public Works team up there, and as well the tree team with some felling and some protection of the paths. I've certainly seen them up there. I know there's been a lot of work as well on the exterior path, but there's more work to be done certainly before the snow falls in November.
So it's just basically tree felling and clearing.
And the narrowing, working on trying to narrow some of those paths, and it's certainly discouraging any continuation of the expanding of the paths, and as well the clearing around the walking trail that overlooks Mount Royal.
So the narrowing the trails, does that involve a different sector of Public Works? I mean, are they going to do that independently, or are they going to hire out to?
I think we are doing a lot of that work within Public Works, but I can certainly check if they're going out to contract on that. But I've certainly seen them up there working.
Up there, I haven't seen any new work on the trails at all. What trails, where would that be?
I've seen that on the outer trails.
The other trails?
Yeah. And I've seen lots of tree work happening. There were a lot of trees that obviously needed to be cleared from the storm, which I think you've probably seen that clearing as well. And trees will have to come down.
Now, that's interesting, and I'm glad you brought it up. Trees coming down. Do we have an action plan as to how to use these trees to edge pathways so that the vegetation can grow right up to the edge? What will happen to the trunk, to the trees that are being felled? Will they just stay there, or does another team come in with a plan to use them?
I can have Alberto write out we can share with you our arborist plan. I know sometimes some of it gets chipped and is used on the trails to be chipped there. Some of it is used to protect the paths. And I know you've been very instrumental in protecting the paths by helping to line them. So working along those lines. But I'll certainly get, I see the Director General is taking note of that. We will get you like an outline of what the arborist's exact plan is for the rest of the season up there before the snow comes.
That would be very good. It's good for people to see that, because I hear a lot of people who don't normally complain say, wow, the pathways are just getting wider and wider.
Well, it's certainly the challenge. Sorry, go on.
No, and I thank you for saying whatever I've done. But what I do can't replace what a Public Works team would do. We just put some sticks here and there, and people usually kick them away. It has to be done in a way that people understand, or that it's pleasing, and we all know that it'll be done in a naturalistic way. We're not trying to create a manicured garden up there.
No, absolutely not. And we, there's been requests to like make, hard surface for the paths and things like that. I don't think anyone is looking at that either. But there's a lot of usage of it. So we are looking at trying to really educate people as well on being more responsible up there. You see it in particular on the weekends, people coming from far and wide, using it as a dog run.
Yes.
I like what Mount Royal did this summer, where they've closed off certain sections to allow that section to regenerate. And that's certainly something that our arborist has also talked about, just, a little section each year that gets closed off to help with the regenerating.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
So,
I haven't seen what Mount Royal has closed off. However,
we're about to close it all off. So.
No, in 2006 and 2008, Mount Royal began a reclamation project from the Belvedere to the Cross, because it was being overrun. It sort of looks like our summit looks.
Okay, so why don't I'll make sure that we get a full, what's coming over the next couple of weeks, because the snow will be here sooner than we think. So I'll make sure that the administration gets that to you.
And you'll communicate, if I may ask, how? You're not going to send me a love letter. I mean, I'm joking.
Won't be that. It will be a letter about the
but
trees.
I mean, will this information be made available to everybody, because people are interested?
Yes, certainly. We can certainly put that on our website.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
Janice Kraut, 3745 The Boulevard. I'm glad to see that there's been an about turn since the last meeting when I was here and I asked about Grosvenor being repaired, the Mayor's Street. That was the first one to be introduced in her mandate. And I was told that what's under the street drives what goes above the street. And 2 months later, we're now saying, well, there's some streets that are in such bad condition that we need to address them first. So you were also supposed to tell me how old the pipes were under the boulevard. You were going to send me that information. Of course, I never heard back. Do you have an answer to that?
Sorry, can you ask your question? How old the pipes were?
How old are the pipes under the boulevard?
I believe they're 1895 or something, but we can find that out.
Your street, which we don't know the age exactly, which was in pretty excellent condition given Westmount Road, gets a rebuild because the pipes supposedly are the problem. Whereas the boulevard is 1895, and we haven't seen any money invested in the street in probably 50, 60 years. So how does one rationalize if you have 20 streets that all have, if your pipes, what's underneath the road is what drives above the road, forget what you're doing now on Claremont, and you have 20 streets that all have 100-year-old pipes that are in different stages of disrepair, the boulevard being worse than the street you lived on, Grosvenor, and yet it gets no attention. So if you have 20 streets with 100-year-old pipes, how do you choose which streets get repaired? Is it just pulled out of a hat? Is it favoritism? Is the mayor got?
You can take that, but there is a very thorough process by the
What
end.
is it? Articulate it, please. You keep saying there's a thorough process, but there's no criteria.
There is criteria absolutely for every
Okay,
single
so if you have-
project.
if you
They're
have
they're
10
publicly
streets-
tendered.
Okay, if you have 10 streets that all have 100-year-old.
Okay, I think you've asked your one question. We're going to answer your question.
But you haven't answered it. You keep giving
Councillor
generalities.
Peart is going to answer your
Okay,
question.
you have 20, here's the question, let's
Okay,
just clarify. 20 streets, they all have 100-year-old pipes, they're all in a different state of disrepair. How do you choose the streets? Because in the case of Grosvenor, which was in very good condition, that got priority, and streets that had 100-year-old pipes fall to the bottom of the list and haven't been touched in the 6 years that the mayor's been here.
The water mains are breaking.
It is not it's not simply the age of the pipes which determines what happens next.
Well, that's what you told me last time, so at least try to
No.
be consistent, please.
Just
I think I'm pretty
answer the
consistent, but
question, then.
that said, this is a multi-dimensional decision-making process. Age is taken into account. The water main breaks on the street are taken into account. The state of the electrical network is taken into account. The state of the sidewalks, it's like I said,
Catch basins, drainage.
it's multi-variable.
I understand that,
Okay,
but
no,
I'm
but
saying all the
sorry,
streets
you've
have
asked,
the
you've
same
asked your question.
variables.
You've asked your question, and
All the
if
streets
you
have the
let
same
me,
variables, and you can only do 3. How do you
Excuse-
choose the 3?
I'm trying to answer your question. There are multiple variables. The engineering team, not anybody around the table here, not any of my predecessors around the table here. The engineering team goes through the list of variables that need to be considered. They make the recommendations that best suit the objectives. Those recommendations are put into action. It also takes into account where these blocks are located in the city. It takes into account the city's financial capacity to do these works. There are a stack of conditions which contribute to the decision-making that's made by the engineering professionals, sometimes including third-party professionals. It is not, as you referred to it earlier, picking items out of a hat. It is a very rigorous procedure.
Well, it's very hard for an outsider when I say you have 3 streets with the same variables, but you can only do 1. How do you choose the 1?
Well, see, I think that's where you're
They all have the same
misunderstanding.
variables.
Well,
They all
no,
have the same
because you are now
electrical,
foc-
sidewalks, they're
They
all
are
identical.
the same variables as to the way you are able to understand them. So, it is more complex than that. It's not just the age of a pipe. There are multiple dimensions to the decision.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that you now have 10 streets with the exact same variables.
But again, you say that so simply,
But you're
that's-
saying it in
So I think
very
this
general
this
terms.
isn't how question period typically works. So I think Councillor Peart has answered your
No, he
question.
hasn't answered it.
Councillor D'Amico would like to weigh in, and then we'll move on to the next questions.
Obviously, the
everyone else
final
out in
thing
the
is
room?
if we have let's say in your theory, 3 identical projects, the pipes are damaged and the wear and tear is identical. Also, there's the financial impact. Some of them have a subsidy attached to it. So the one with the higher subsidy, if the 3 were completely identical, we would probably choose the one with the higher subsidy.
And let's say they all have the same subsidy.
Okay, so I think this is Councillor Kett. And then we'll move on here.
I have the same question, and I have a list which I've accumulated, which seems to be Okay, so it's the age, condition of the water main, including the number of recorded leaks or breaks and availability of subsidies, like Antonio D'Amico had mentioned. We have age, condition of sewer mains, likelihood of water services being galvanized, steel or lead, the condition of the underground hydro infrastructure, the age, condition of the sidewalks, the condition of the underground infrastructure, external utilities, Bell, Videotron Energy, the opportunity to change the street to improve existing conditions, livability, the sustainable initiatives, the proximity to other projects within a city, a prioritization plan for the city's water. So
Okay,
these
so I
are
think
all-
you've had 3 answers from council, so we're going to move on. No,
obviously, just
so,
based on that, the
We're gonna move on
boulevard
to the
would
next.
fit the criteria, no problem. We have 1895, we have a terrible traffic situation, we have sidewalks that aren't to code, we have unbearable traffic, but it doesn't get any money.
so thank you for your,
Okay, so thank you for your inconsistency and for not explaining.
okay, are there
how
any
you
other questions in the
prioritize
room?
things.
Madam, do you have a question? Since you're attending, no? No question? Okay. Do you have a question in the room? Because we're going to move on to online questions. No? Okay. And the next question online?
Question from Mr. Denis Biro. The minutes from the August 21 General Committee meeting briefly mention changes arising from Legislative Act 16. The changes listed include ones to planning tools and the referendum process. The minutes also use terms such as bonus zoning and in addition refer to our Planning Advisory Committee. In simple terms, what do these changes mean for residents? What will we now see? What will be the difference? Thank you.
Referring to a presentation that I was not available at, but I think that Monsieur Le Greffier has some points on that.
Those are technical amendments, mostly to the Act respecting land use planning and development. For example, cities now have the possibility to modify the urban planning program at any time rather than every 5 years. Some decisions are not subject to approval by way of referendum anymore, like subdivision bylaws, parking standards, increases in minimum land occupation densities, collective equipment, etc.
Okay, so thank you for that clarification. We will now, are there any other questions, anything just submitted online, or is that the only one?
There's no more questions online.
Non, OK. On va commencer avec l'adoption de l'ordre du jour, which is Councillor Aronson,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
with some additions.
With some additions, I move that the agenda of the regular council sitting of September the 18th, 2023 be adopted with the addition of the following items. At 10.01, the appointment, Senior Director, Project Office and Territory Management. And 10.02, Request for Proposals, Program to Clear Lines of Vegetation.
Thank you very much. A seconder will be Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 5 is confirmation of minutes. Councillor Aronson, again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the minutes of the regular council sitting held on September the 5th, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. A seconder on that will be Councillor Peart. Item number 6, reports to council. The first one is 6.1, minutes of the General Committee of Council. Councillor Gallery.
The minutes of the General Committee Council meeting held on August 21st, 2023 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you. 6.2, c'est le greffier encore, le procès verbal de correction.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Conformément aux dispositions de l'article 92.1 de la loi sur les cités et villes, je dépose le procès-verbal de correction portant sur la résolution 2023-08-2019 ainsi qu'une copie du document modifié. Il s'agit d'une coquille dans un numéro de permis.
Okay, thank you. And as this is a mid-month meeting, a lot of the items that are in section 6 are only tabled at the beginning of the month. Item number 7 is Councillor D'Amico, request for proposals upgrade of telecommunication equipment phase.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Attendu qu'une demande de proposition a été envoyée pour la phase 2 du rehaussement des équipements de télécommunication, demande de proposition numéro DDP, /union 2023-040, et que conformément au règlement 1556 sur la gestion contractuelle, la déclaration relative aux mesures prises pour assurer la rotation des contractant est déposé lors de cette séance. Attendu que, après analyse des propositions reçues, système ACCI Inc. est le soumissionnaire retenu, je propose d'autoriser une dépense de 79 356, incluant le crédit de taxe pour la phase 2 du rehaussement des équipements de télécommunications, demande de proposition numéro DDP, -040, d'accorder à Système ACCI Inc. le contrat à cette fin, conformément à sa proposition, soit pour une somme maximale de 93 313,88 sous, taxes incluses, le tout conformément aux documents contractuels de la demande de proposition DDP-2023-040, d'imputer cette dépense conformément aux informations financières inscrites au sommaire décisionnel numéro 2023-2013.
Merci beaucoup. A seconder on this will be Councillor Roux. Do you have any further comments? No?
No.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Item number 8 is notice of motion and adoption of a first draft bylaw 1605 to further amend bylaw 1303 respecting zoning. Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I hereby give notice of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council, bylaw number 1605 entitled Bylaw to further amend bylaw 1303 respecting zoning. The object of this bylaw is to amend several provisions of the zoning bylaw to correct issues of interpretation, consistency, and understanding, as well as to better control of the installation of certain structures. I move that the first draft of bylaw number 1605 entitled Bylaw to further amend bylaw 1303 respecting zoning be adopted for submission to public consultation in accordance with the provisions of the Act respecting land use planning and development, CQLR, Chapter A, 19.1, and that a public consultation meeting be held in the council's chamber of Westmount City Hall on Wednesday, October 25th of 2023 at 7 p.m. in accordance with the provisions of said Act.
Thank you very much. A seconder will be Councillor Gallery. There will be some information that we will share with the public over the coming weeks, but in advance of the October 2025th, I think it's the 25th.
That's right.
Public consultation so that they're able to come understanding what the issue is, and it's very straightforward, common sense changes that are needed. Anyone, you want to add anything to that?
As the mayor suggests, it's tweaks and adjustments, some adjustment to some language, some cleanup. It's not, there should not be anything contentious here, but it is really mostly just administrative tweaks.
Perfect. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 9 is, hang on one second. Item number 9, notice of motion and adoption of a first draft bylaw 1606 to further amend bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, construction in front of the building line, and temporary signage. Councillor Peart is to give notice of motion.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. I hereby give notice of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council bylaw number 1606, entitled Bylaw 1606 to further amend bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs. The object of this bylaw is to ensure consistency with the dispositions concerning zoning further to the modification provided for in draft bylaw number 1605. I move that the first draft of bylaw number 1606, entitled Bylaw to further amend bylaws 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, construction in front of the building line, and temporary signage, be adopted for submission to public consultation in accordance with the provisions of the Act respecting land use planning and development, CQLR, Chapter A, 19.1, that a public consultation meeting be held in the council chamber of Westmount City Hall on October 25th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in accordance with the provisions of said Act.
Thank you very much. A seconder is Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on this?
These are just a couple of small provisions which are related to some of the changes that are made in the prior bylaw amendment. So this has to do with, the previous one was to do with the zoning bylaw. This one has to do with our architectural, our planning and architectural integration bylaw. So there's some correlations that need to be made.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried. Now we move to some of our new items of business. Item 10.1, appointment Senior Director, Project Office and Territory Management. Councillor D'Amico is going to move that tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas according to Section 71 of the Cities and Towns Act, CQLR little c C-19, the council shall appoint by resolution such officers and employees as it deems necessary for the administration of the city and shall fix their salaries. Whereas on April 1st, 2019, the Municipal Council adopted the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel. Whereas the position of Senior Director of the Project Office and Territory Management Department has been created. Whereas the Director of Human Resources recommends the appointment of Tom Flees to the position of Senior Director of the Project Office and Territory Management Department, I move that Tom Flees be appointed to the position of Senior Director of the Project Office and Territory Management Department, Grade 2, effective on October 30, 2023, in accordance with the salary recommendation stipulated in the decision-making file number 2023-2023, and according to the terms provided for in the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel, that this appointment be on a permanent basis once Mr. Flees has completed a probationary period in accordance with Section 2 of the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel.
Thank you very much. I think Councillor Peart would like to second this. I certainly I welcome this news to have Mr. Flees come back to the city of Westmount. He was a very valuable member of the team when he was in urban planning, and now he will come in a more senior role in really shepherding the major projects, the major infrastructure projects throughout the city that involve, many departments and public consultations. And as you see, we are doing more and more public consultations. You'll see that on some streets that are planned for the next couple years, and it will be Mr. Flees and his team that lead that. So we are very excited about that. So I don't know, Councillor Peart has worked with him as well fairly closely. So if you want to say a few words on that.
Just looking forward to having him back on board. I think it'll be an amazing addition to the administrative team, and this is a resource that we haven't had the benefit of having previously, having somebody who it's not just a hope to get to manager, but really has a list of objectives that you can really dedicate his time to, rather than just hoping to get to it at some point in time.
Yeah. So on that note, all in favor, he's not with us here tonight. He was able to meet with GC, but Councillor D'Amico, did you have your hand up to say anything? So I think it's very welcome news. So all in favor? Aye. Carried. Item 10.2, which is the last item on the agenda, request for proposals program to clear lines of vegetation. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas a request for proposals was sent for the program to clear lines of vegetation. This was request for proposals number DDP 2023-042, and that in conformity with bylaw 1556 on contract management, the déclaration relative aux mesures prises pour assurer la rotation de co-contractants is submitted to this meeting, and whereas following the analysis of the received proposals, Arboriculture de Bus Incorporated is the selected bidder. I, therefore, will move that we authorize an expenditure in the amount of $80,560, including tax credits, for the program to clear lines of vegetation, as we discussed, for the request for proposals number DDP 2028-042. I further move to award to Arboriculture de Bus Incorporated a contract for this purpose in accordance with its proposal for a maximum amount of $92,623.80, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contract documents for the request for proposals DDP 2022-042. And finally, I move to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2023-1999.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gallery would like to second this. This is a motion in terms of
clearing lines of vegetation.
Yeah, and tree maintenance throughout the city. which is part of our annual work. So all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
you.
That brings that part of the agenda to a close. If there's any other questions online or in the room, that the time is now, and I would urge you to adhere to the rules of asking one question and allowing time for that question to be answered. And state your name and your address again.
Janice Kraut, 3745 The Boulevard. Last meeting when we discussed Hydro Westmount, you said that there was substantial investments that need to be made. And so I asked you the following. Is Westmount Hydro as a standalone corporation, without access to the general funds of Westmount bankrupt?
Councillor D'Amico, you've raised your hand quickly. I will leave that one to you.
I did answer your question, and I quoted from the audited financial statements of the city. I did receive a similar question. So the audited financial statement on the city is not the same as what you see on the website. The difference is because the audited financial statement, which I will send you a copy with there's like a concordance table where you can go from the website number, which is a negative number, to the positive number, which is the audited financial statement number. And that's because the amount on the audited financial statement is done according to generally accepted accounting principles. So when you and I look at a financial statement, we know what principles they're done under. The one on the website is done as a pay-as-you-go. So you need to do a reconciliation between the two numbers. I did get a similar question. I think I did not send you that reconciliation, but I would like to send it to you so that you could see the difference between the negative number and the positive number. And it's due to generally accepted accounting principles.
Okay, but the bottom line is
Yep.
that the pay-as-you-go, you needed $18 million in the last 6 years to fund Westmount Hydro. And that money came from general funds, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't have access to the general funds, where would the $18 million have come from?
I think the answer would probably be would have to borrow.
Right, okay, so that means, and do you think anybody would have lent you $18 million without a general Westmount guarantee based on the finances of Hydro Westmount?
I have to be very
would say
honest.
no.
I'm very uncomfortable
those are the
discussing
facts.
Hydro
We can't-
Westmount because we're presently looking at this issue. So it would not be responsible for me to divulge information that.
So your
presently-
point is certainly noted, and we will move on to the next question. He's
but
answered your question on
I
the
would like
audited
to
statement.
So
You
basically,
the-
you answered my question.
But I would like to
Just
send you the
second,
reconcil-
Hydro
So-
Westmount on its own is bankrupt. That's
No,
all.
No,
no,
he
no, no,
did
that's
not
not what
say
I
that.
said.
Don't-
That's not what I
so-
said. I said I would like to send you the reconciliation that
So-
shows the difference between the
Thank you,
negative
Mrs. Kraut,
number
for
on
your-
the website to the positive number on the audit. I will send you that. I'm sorry, I sent it to some.
Okay, Mrs. Kraut, this is not how question period works, so your question is over, and you can sit down, and Mr. Fretz behind you has a question.
I will send you the reconciliation.
Mr.
Thank you.
Fretz, your question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is good news, you know, that people are felling and lining the trails and possibly narrowing certain trails. But prior to making that decision, what was taken into consideration? By this, I mean, we had the Fauteuil report over 10 years ago, which kind of gave us a grasp on what we needed to do up there. We had like a fold-out. So what I'm trying to say is, shouldn't we be heading towards an action plan? I mean, somebody actually thinks, well, okay, this year, let's, you know, fell the trees and do that. That's great, but is it that not a bit piecemeal? Do we not need an action plan for the summit?
Yes, and this is all part of the action plan for the summit, is the continual maintenance of the trees up there and felling the ones that need to come down, and dedicating more funds to the summit and its maintenance, and making sure that the paths do not encroach more on the forest, and looking at all options of you know, perhaps there needs to be more restrictions up there in terms of who can use it, how you get there, things like that. because it won't be sustainable if it just keeps expanding. Like we saw over the pandemic, obviously it became a destination for, what seemed like the whole island, and then expansion through the park. So, but there's very much a plan, and we have a new superintendent for parks, which I think you've probably met. I think you met her that night at the public consultation on King George Park, which was a very thorough plan for how we're going to manage the trees in that park. And she is very involved in the capital works budget of next year, and also the operations budget of public works and going forward of what that will be. So
Well-
yes, there is a plan, and there is money being invested in there.
And is it too forward to ask, may we see this bigger
Yeah,
plan?
we can certainly, we can share with you what some of the recommendations and some of the like I said, what we're going to do over the next couple months before the end of the year up there. Certainly happy to share that with the public.
Yeah. I don't want to bore the meeting, but there are many facets, of course. There's the
Yes.
invasives, there's some trails are actually, to my mind, dangerous, have dangerous areas. There's campfires, there's, as
Yeah,
you
there's
mentioned
also-
yourself, the overabundance of dogs on weekends. They come in and probably from Ottawa, I don't know. Maybe there's nothing up there. But it's just that, I think this kind of settles everybody's mind, because the neglect at the moment, if I may use that, kind of impacts everything. And I think that if it's settled in people's minds that we have a plan, and of course we do, I don't doubt that you don't, I think it's just a question of communicating perhaps a little more to,
And certainly a lot of the maintenance that would typically get done over the summer had an 8-week lag where none of it got done, right? Because a lot of that is done by blue collars. So much of the work couldn't get done during the strike, but they are catching up on it, because I do see the team up there a lot. So, but we'll get you some notes on what, and we'll make that public on what the plan is for the summit for the rest of the year.
and
I think we're gonna have to cut it off there, Mr. Fretz.
Okay.
'Cause I think we have
I
online
just want to say
questions.
something that might be a little dear to everyone. We used to have the Summit Woods Advisory Committee, so we used to see some of these plans,
Yeah.
and that got relayed out. But right now, we're not really getting very much. Thank you very much.
That is a fair point, and you are certainly the best ambassador of Summit Woods, so we will make sure we get that information into your
I
hands.
hesitate to say this, there are many other people up there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions online?
No questions
Oh,
online.
I thought there was a question online. Okay, if there's no other questions in the room, the meeting is adjourned, and we will see you at the beginning of October. And we'll go back to our general committee meeting.